Okay guys, welcome back. So this week, as I said, I'm back on the Rolls-Royce Corniche. I've got all these from IntroCar. Remember I picked up like a shipping order last time I was in there and we had a tour of the place. These are basically various seals for the lights, the front lights. I mean, the main reason I'm going to be working on it this week is, I don't know whether I told you earlier on in one of the earlier episodes, I had a bit of an incident where you've got like the rat trap underneath the pedals, you know, where the brakes are, and there's lots of different valves and a kind of ball bearing thing, which it's basically the early design of ABS, anti-lock and braking system. And what happens sometimes, if you jam on, if you make an emergency stop, and this was back when I was first testing out the brakes, literally when I first finished doing the job, if you jam on, sometimes the ball bearing sticks and it doesn't come back down, so the entire braking system locks up. I mean, everything's braking fine, but it's one of those jobs that's been niggling me and I haven't quite got round to it. I've got a new set of pistons, small and large, as you can see, so they'll be fitted. I'll clean everything out again, put the red jelly in. Mustn't forget these, the all important seals that go inside before we close the caliper up. There's various springs, and also I'm going to replace the cables for the rear handbrake, which they're probably long overdue as well. I mean, they get greased up over time, but I think it's just time replacing, so it's all nice and clean and, you know, the job's all done properly. So as you can see, once again, got my work cut out. Let's get stuck in. Oh, and I almost forgot. This package arrived yesterday, again from IntroCar. Basically, I've developed a problem with my passenger door. When I try to open the door from the outside, it's basically like the door's locked. I can only open it from the inside. So I'm assuming this is normally the culprit. It's this solenoid. Brake pads. There we go. It's this solenoid, and what happens is over time it starts to stick, so it doesn't travel up and down. You can either take them apart and start cleaning them up and putting them back together again, but I think the part's being superseded anyway. I think I might have to adapt the holes where the rivets go through, but basically this should do the job perfectly, because I think that's the culprit. Anyway, we'll soon find out.
The first thing I'm going to address are these shabby light seals, and it's normally the indicators and lenses that suffer most. This, again, is another job that's often left or overlooked, out of sight, out of mind. But you can see on removal that the previous owner has split the side of the seal for ease, so we could fit the seal around the light without having to cut the wires behind and resolder. This, in my mind, is asinine, because you cut the outside of the seal, then the seal is lost. I'm going to do it this way. A small cut on the inside of the seal, so still keeping the outside complete and therefore retaining the seal. Slips over nice and easy. See, this way there's no cutting wires or covering your lovely re-chrome bumpers with solder. Simple. So now I'm going to move on to them rear brake calipers. As I say, the car's been braking perfectly, but a couple of years ago I had a bit of an incident where just after I got the car on the road, I was testing the braking system out and I made a few emergency stops. And it's a common thing with these cars apparently. You've got like a ball bearing within the rat trap, and when you make a stop, the ball bearing goes to the front, but sometimes it sticks and the entire braking system just jams up. Anyway, I managed to get back to the house, albeit with flames coming out of the rear wheels. I put them out with the jet wash. And I know it sounds crazy, but the car's been braking perfectly ever since. But it's one of them jobs that I've been meaning to get round to. And now here I am. Because I think at least it's got to have melted the dust covers that go around the pistons to stop any crap getting in. So anyway, I'm going to remove the rear calipers. I'm going to split them open, see what kind of damage is done. I'm going to clean it all out, fit new pistons. I'll use the red rubber grease as well, put new dust covers and clips, new journal seals, throw it all back together again, and then bleed the whole system and we should be good to go again then. But first things first, you've got basically two systems on these Rolls-Royce. You've got a low pressure and a high pressure system, and it's a very high pressure, so it's really dangerous to work on. So what I'm going to do before I do anything, I'm going to depressurize the system, and this is easily done. You just switch your ignition on and you just pump your pedal until these two brake lights are both on. See how many it takes, eh? 13, 14, 30, 31, 32. There's one on, 32, 40, 80. There you go, just on 80. One on 30, 32 I think, and one on 80. It's all done. So now the system's completely safe to work on. Let's get them rear calipers removed. You know, I could just let the brake fluid run out, but with a litre of that Castrol 363 at 30 quid a pop, nah, I think I'm just going to make a couple of blankers. First the male, and then a female. So with the blank in place, bolts out, and the handbrake pin removed, off it comes. And just so you know, if you don't fancy doing the job yourself, these are actually available at IntroCar on the shelf as a completely rebuilt unit. And you know, last time I looked, they were actually pretty reasonable. I was half tempted myself. Just look at the state of that. With the dust covers melted into hard plastic and the clips just floating about. These were in a right state. And you can see the pads are all glazed because they've overheated. So they're shot. And here you can see all the rust and corrosion due to water ingress. You notice here there's different sized pistons. And notice the smaller one is in much better condition and its rubber dust cover was intact. That's because the small one runs off the master cylinder. The large one is from the high pressure system. This is the system that locked on and melted its rubber away, hence all the corrosion and all the damage. And then when both pots are being cleaned within an inch of their lives, new seals are fitted along with red rubber grease for extra lubrication and protection. And good luck with these slippery little suckers. If the going gets tough, a little bit of improvisation usually comes in handy. And don't forget those all-important journal seals. They're a few quid each, but listen, if you don't replace them, what's the worst that can happen? After a few 100 miles, they start pissing fluid everywhere. And you got to strip them all down and go through the whole process all over again. But don't worry, I'm not going to put you through the whole process again, but obviously I'll do exactly the same to the rear side calipers, but just the rears, as these were the ones that locked on. And don't forget, The links to all the individual parts can be found if you click on the episode description, which can be found underneath the episode title. And if you're interested in a bit of discount, just use the code MAVERS. It's also a good idea to put a little smear of copper grease on the back of the pads, just to stop any squealing. Oh, and just so you know, these pads come complete with new pins and clips. You see, in the haste of filming, I've stupidly fitted the old ones, but never mind. These will do the job just fine. They've only been on a year anyway. A new spring for the handbrake shoes. And then when everything's back together, a little bit of a freshen up. And back on it goes. It's probably a good idea to connect the lines up before the calipers actually bolted back into the hub. But these calipers are heavy, and if you don't want it to hit you in the face, then lock it in with a screwdriver or a dot punch through the bolt hole first, or something similar. Then when your lines are safely connected up, simply remove the screwdriver or the dot punch and then fit your bolts. Next on the list are the handbrake cables. If greased up at regular service intervals, these shouldn't give you any trouble, but after years of sporadic use, they will eventually fail and seize up, and the only option is to replace with new. Now we bleed the brakes. First the low pressure system, driven off the master cylinder, so it's engine off, somebody in the car as usual, pumping the brakes, bottom nipple on the caliper. Then we're on to the high pressure system, which is a bit more tricky. A block of wood to keep the pedal depressed. Start the engine. Keep it running a high idle. Then opening the top nipple but in short bursts for safety, then closing again. And as the pressure starts to build up, it becomes a bit more intense, so just take your time, unless you prefer an early bath in brake fluid. It'll appear a bit frothy at first, with a bit of junk and lots of bubbles, but eventually you'll come to clean fluid and then you're done. Just remember, during that whole process, keep the levels topped up to the correct levels in the reservoir. Otherwise, if they drop below and air gets into the system, you have to start the whole process all over again. If you're just doing the one caliper, then you can probably get away with just bleeding that one corner. But as I've replaced both, I'll bleed the whole system in sequence. So I'll now move to the front calipers, where you've got 2 on each wheel. So I'll move to the front right, I'll do the front one first, then the one on the rear of the wheel, and then continue the sequence round to the back again. That keeps your brake system nice and healthy and in good order. Now the last job I want to tackle today is that wonky steering wheel, which has been bugging me for some time. I've had my tracking checked twice now and it's die straight, so off comes the steering wheel to realign. But first I have to remove the Bakelite covering on the column itself to get to the nuts at the back securing the wheel itself. Just be careful because these are quite delicate and prone to snapping. And by using this simple trick of just switching the ignition on, turning the steering wheel so you can reach the inaccessible nuts. This saves you taking the whole dash apart just to get the top part of the Bakelite column cover off. Just saves a lot of work, a lot of messing about. A little bit of string or fishing line or anything just to pull the horn off. Now this main nut should have a tab washer on for safety, so this has obviously been off before. Now this is where the wheel normally sits with the steering straight. As you can see, this is way off. So I'm going to take it off, reposition it and hope for the best. Now normally you have to leave the steering wheel loose, just drive around the block a couple of times and reposition as you go. And eventually, when you get it die straight, you button it up, job done. I just got lucky, I got it first time. Anyway guys, that's me, job done. I'm going in for me tea. Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And join me in just a couple of days when I replace the solenoid on that door lock, rebuild the lower part of the steering column, and with the help of my daughter India, finally fit that fresh bonnet.